Since the 80s, there have been theories about how the brain is able to perform at its best in a state called the edge of chaos. Initially coined by the physicist Norman Packard, this term describes the transition space between order and disorder, and how self-organization emerges at the brink of disorder. Now, researchers from the University of Sydney and Japan's National Institute for Material Science have found that keeping a nanowire network at the edge of chaos is the best state for it to produce useful results. For this, the researchers created a network of 10 micrometers long and 500 nanometers wide and randomly arranged it on a two-dimensional plane. They found that under low signals, the network produced predictable and non-complex pathways, whereas under high signals, the output was chaotic. After experimenting with the frequencies, they discovered that it was only at the edge of chaos that the system produced optimal results for problem solving. Furthermore, they also discovered that junctions in this system allowed it to incorporate memory and operations into a single system, for example RAM and CPU operations. According to a researcher, these junctions act like computer transistors, but with the additional property of remembering that signals have traveled that pathway before. As such, they are called memristors. Currently, the system can only do simple processing tasks, such as for this study, the researchers trained the system to convert simple waveforms into complex ones. Though there is a long way for nanowire networks to go, such systems can have massive advantages for future AI, such as lower energy footprints by removing certain junction training algorithms. The researchers state that what's so exciting about this result is that it suggests that these type of nanowire networks can be tuned into regimes with diverse brain-like collective dynamics, which can be leveraged to optimize information processing. In January last year, a team of researchers from Tufts University and the University of Vermont developed miniature robots, Xenobots, from the cells of African claw frogs. These tiny biological machines could not only move around, exhibit collective behavior, push a payload, but also had self-healing properties. The same team has now developed Xenobots 2.0, which can self-assemble a body from single cells, requiring no muscle cells to move, and even demonstrate recordable memory capabilities. In addition, this new generation of Xenobots can navigate different environments, have longer lifespans, and can also move faster than their predecessors. There was no genetic engineering involved in building these. Instead, the researchers state that they used living cells and tissues rather than artificial parts. Researchers state that these robots can aid in therapy and advance the study of cell formation and behavior, but certainly there will be a lot of ethical concerns regarding these. What are your thoughts? It seems that AI developers' fascination with building robot animals cannot be overstated, as can be seen from the race of developing one. Joining this race are a team of UC Berkeley researchers who have published a detailed study on the squirrel and its extraordinary parkour abilities to build more agile robots. They conducted their experiments by putting squirrels into sketchy situations and learned from their decisions and behaviors. The study details the decision-making and mobility of squirrels, such as how squirrels learn to leap from different launching spots, how they change their body orientation mid-air, etc. Dr. Hunt, who is one of the lead researchers, states that this can lead to discovering general principles of high-performance locomotion in the canopy and other complex terrains that apply to the movements of other animals and robots. Speaking of robotic animals, Xiaomi, the tech giant, has launched a direct competitor to Boston Dynamics Spot robot, which they have named CyberDog. CyberDog is an open source project, and developers and fans from around the world can participate in its development, and has just a price tag of $1,540, whereas the Spot costs around $74,500. In addition, not only the CyberDog weighs less, but it has twice the speed than Spot, though it lacks in the number of cameras and battery life. In the contemporary world, the major concern surrounding AI developers is how to train AI rather than programming it with countless algorithms. In this regard, researchers at DeepMind have reached a new milestone by creating an AI trainer game by the name of XLand, which is sort of a virtual playground for AI. XLand is a constantly evolving world in which the game managing AI generates new worlds, tasks, and games for the agents based on their interactions. This lets the game-playing algorithms learn and adapt to new situations to successfully navigate through the presented challenges. The researchers state that they have trained 5 generations of agents, which roughly amounts to agents playing 700,000 unique games in 4,000 unique worlds. While each agent in the final generation experienced 200 billion training steps as a result of 3.4 million unique tasks. The skills that these agents gained range from general trial and error experimentation, cooperative behavior, and tools usage, to more complex hide and seek, capture the flag, and tag. Now, how is this important? Well, a major challenge in deep learning has been that most AI is trained to accomplish a specific task almost perfectly. But it fails if another task is demanded of it. Thus, it must be reprogrammed or trained to carry out that other task, which is a long process. DeepMind's AI presents a step towards a solution for this particular problem, as the AI training is autonomous and evolves with time, which they call zero-shot behavior. Though the training games were relatively simple, DeepMind has certainly presented a workable solution, and later more complex tasks could be tested on this AI to develop more generally capable algorithms. This is not the only solution the company has presented. Last December, the company announced AlphaFold, a solution to a 50-year-old grand challenge in biology, and have now published its details and source code. We all know how essential proteins are for life, but what is essential for a protein is its final unique 3D structure. As its unique 3D structure is closely linked to its purpose or function, which is extremely helpful in developing treatments for diseases or finding enzymes. To know what DeepMind's AI does and how it is revolutionary, first it is imperative to learn about the protein folding problem. Proteins are the executions of our source code, which is the DNA, and are themselves built up of one-dimensional amino acids. These ribbons then pass through a vast cellular infrastructure to fold into their final 3D structure. That is why proteins are of great importance to scientists, as numerous types of medicine target proteins rather than the DNA itself. In 1972, Nobel laureate Christian Anfinsen theorized that it is possible to determine a protein's final structure through its sequence of amino acids to cut other time-consuming and expensive methods. However, it was deemed impossible, as noted by Cyrus Levienthal in 1969, that it would take longer than the age of the known universe to enumerate all possible configurations of a typical protein by brute force calculation. This is where DeepMind's AlphaFold AI comes into play, which uses a trained attention-based neural network system to interpret the structure of a protein. It does so by taking the folded protein as a spatial graph where residues are the nodes and the edges connect the residues in proximity and reasons over the implicit graph that it's building using multiple sequences. In short, it can drive the final structure of the protein through its amino acid sequence with high accuracy and using fewer resources. Furthermore, DeepMind has now released its source code and predicted shapes of 350,000 proteins, verified by scientists, including most of the proteins in the human body, and they plan to expand the database to 100 million. To put things into perspective, over the decades, scientists have only been able to work out 180,000 structures. Thus, this technology will revolutionize the field of medicine. DeepMind states that they have shown that artificial intelligence can dramatically accelerate breakthroughs in many fields of science, and in turn advance humanity. What are your thoughts on their technologies and AI in general? Do let us know in the comments.